Tuhin Sinha, you're being accused, the government is being accused of a witch hunt. राशन पानी लेके NewsClick पर चढ़ गए आप. Why?
Namaste, Anand. Namaste to everybody. I hope, every well-meaning Indian would agree that the sovereignty of the nation is of far bigger significance than the perpetual victimhood cry of a few compromised individuals. And these are habitually compromised individuals. The issue over here, the NewsClick issue, involves a deadly cocktail of Chinese deep pockets, corrupt corporate interests, plus a set of individuals who we sometimes refer to as urban naxals. But look at the glaring, anomalies and the willful discrepancies in the 3 years that NewsClick was in existence between 2018 and 2021. 28 crores transferred to an entity which had no defined model of business. The shares were subscribed at an elevated rate of 11,510 per share merely to ensure the transfer of money from abroad. 1.55 crore was given to an electrician. Some amount of the money transferred was given to Gautam Navlakha, the chief accused or the main accused in the Elgar Parishad case. No, but there are larger issues over here. And I think until a proper and a thorough investigation is complete, we will never get to the bottom of the case. When I say bottom of the case, Neville Singham has had many exchange of emails with Prakash Karat, including in the immediate aftermath of the Galwan Valley. In one particular email, he talks about the great reception which CPIM's hagiographic account of Mao Zedong has received in China. Now, this reeks of a very murky relationship between the Communist Party. But more importantly, when you talk of anti-India propaganda, what were the 3 main issues on which propaganda was carried out between 2008 and 2021? First, it was Rafale. Who was the Indian politician who was constantly spreading falsehood on the issue of Rafale, and he had to eventually also apologize to the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, for falsely attributing certain words to the Supreme Court. We know the answer. The answer is, the Congress Party. Number 2, the issue of vaccine cynicism, the vaccine hesitancy. Again, some of our opposition leaders and these individual so-called journalists or compromised individuals on the same page. They were spreading the same kind of misinformation. And finally, in 2021, on the Galwan issue, they were trusting the Chinese, what was published in the China Daily or another, the Morning Times over there more than the account of the Indian Army. So I think there are very clear indications that we need to get to the bottom of the case. A lot of it needs to be unfolded. And I think, this is just the beginning. Any well-meaning Indian should support this rather than crib about the victimhood narrative.
My question is, you may want to look at the source of funds and say it is dubious. But does following a particular agenda or a propaganda against the government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi amount to UAPA sections being invoked? I'm going to push you there, Tuhin Sinha. Answer that, and then we'll bring in Sanjay Jha and Anand Rangala.
Well, it's about whether these entities were receiving a certain diktat from their boss, which is Neville Roy Singham, because he apparently shares his office with a Chinese media group, the Mako Group, whose stated agenda is to tell the Chinese story. They are masters in spreading Chinese propaganda across the globe. So I think, when you directly take your dictations from him, and there are many instances, like I said, believing the Chinese papers more over the stated position of the Indian Army. What does that amount to? Deliberately spreading cynicism about an Indian company, Covaxin, which has an excellent track record, including generating the first vaccine for removal of rotavirus way back 2 decades ago. So I think there was a very clear, motivated agenda of these journalists, and eventually, let the law take its own course. Let the investigation agencies do a thorough investigation. Why should anybody be scared of it? We have seen cases, I don't know whether Abhijit is present over here, we have seen cases of, journalists being haunted for no rhyme or reason. Recently, Abhijit Mazumdar faced a similar FIR for no reason absolutely, except for an article. We have seen my friend Arnab Goswami has been in jail for 8 days. So a mere investigation of a few hours, why should it rattle these people if they have nothing to hide?
Sanjay Jha?
Anand, good evening. It's good to be on your program, and I'm very happy to be on this platform on this topic. It's very interesting that the BJP spokesperson before me said my friend Arnab Goswami. Fascinating. I like these public confessions. But let me get down to answering the more fundamental points of our conversation. Since we are talking about the Chinese, I would like to ask the BJP a few questions as well. Have you heard of a gentleman called Chang Chung Ling, who is, by the way, very closely associated with the Adani Group and was also charged under the DRI in 2014? Please answer that question. Where is that? Is there an investigation going on, or has he already got a clean chit like Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi? Point number 2. Who are the Chinese investors in the PM Cares? Kindly make a full public disclosure. There is enough speculation and a lot of it is already published and in the public domain. You can't fool the people of India. Point number 3. Anand, it's ridiculous that the BJP comes here on the program mouthing a whole lot of border dash while India's trade with China is at a historic high. I mean, this is a party that uses the China bogey to destroy and attack the civil society infrastructure in India, while it's hunky-dory in doing business, trade and commerce with the Chinese. I mean, how duplicitous and hypocritical can you be? Point number 4, a very interesting data. Since 2014, nearly 400 cases of sedition have been filed by this government. Okay, using obviously the harshest UAPA, etc. Guess what is the conviction rate? 3%. Point number 5, very interesting, you will find this very interesting, Anand, because you've been part of media. In the Media One case, which was overturned by the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court told Mr. Modi's government, please stop using the bogey or the canard of national security to violate fundamental rights of individuals and organizations in this country. That is the Supreme Court telling the government of the day. Point number 5. We all know about how recently you have found cases, especially I would say the cases of the CBI, the ED and the income tax attacking the opposition. Do we not know the Reporters Without Borders, one of the most respected institutions in the world, has rated us as 160 on 180 on the World Press Freedom Index. I mean, India is not a democracy. There is an undeclared emergency. We are a democratically elected dictatorship. This government is scared. You remember, I can give you a couple of more examples and then I'll stop and hear some other people. Outlook, Anand, you got to look at Outlook because you are part of the media industry. Outlook put out a cover story saying, missing, about the Mr. Modi's government missing in action during the second COVID wave. Guess what happened? The entire Outlook editorial staff was counted and Ruben Banerjee was forced to actually resign. We all know Karan Thapar, we know a number of such cases. I have made my opening statement and I will make following the
Sanjay, only this from any political party to talk about them batting for freedom of speech and for supporting journalists and their freedom of expression is a little too rich. Be it the Congress party, be it the BJP, be it the Trinamool Congress, be it the DMK, any political party does not like people who question them. Yours truly is part of a list. Yours truly is part of a unsaid ban which from a very, very democratic party for the last 6.5 years. But yours truly continues to ply his profession. So these are realities, sir. But I would only like to point out that there are no investors in PM Cares because it's a fund, it's a charity trust. So there are only donors. So you cannot use the word investors. You can question the number of Chinese donors to PM Cares. That is a fair question to ask, Sanjay ji.
Fair enough.
Yeah.